college football here, at least in the month of November, is, wait for it, here comes the magic word, the pigskin word. It's been a doozy, a straight doozy for, just college football, for Pigskin Frenzy. It has been electric here in the month of November, and we have some things to talk about here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We have coaching carousel talk. I mean, a lot of people have been clamoring for it. They've been wanting my thoughts on it, and we're going to give you my thoughts. A big hire was just made in the coaching carousel. Not just that, we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about some Lane Kiffin saga, and we're going to talk about what's going on there because it is important to know as we are entering week 13 of the season, and then next week will be Showdown Saturday, round number 3 for us at Pigskin Frenzy. Showdown Saturday, the last week of the regular season, as the season is just flying by. And we got some Week 12 recaps, and guess what else we have? The Frenzy playoff rankings, because why not? You got to hear the Frenzy playoff rankings, and I know everybody's looking forward to that, so we're going to talk about that as well. Welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, you're listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram is at pigskin_frenzy. Follow, like the pages there, and the website is www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com for all things Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, we could not do this show without you guys. 6,000 listeners and counting. We're about to be at 6,100 listeners and counting. A big thank you for tuning in each and every Tuesday and Thursday, for listening and watching college football coverage with us. And not only that, we give you, and we give y'all credit, but we most importantly give our Lord and Savior Jesus the credit, because without Jesus, we would not be here doing college football media. We would not have Pigskin Frenzy, and we give Jesus all the praise. He is our Lord, he is our Savior, and we give him all the praise for Pigskin Frenzy and putting us in college football media. Guys, if you want to come to know him, it's the best decision you can ever make in your life. Guys, contact me, X and Instagram, at pigskin_frenzy. And the website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Contact info's down below. It's the best decision you could ever make in your life. I love Jesus, and we give him all the praise. And we proclaim his name across all platforms, not just on this show, but on all shows, because we are not in this. And I'm not in this if it wasn't for our Lord and Savior, Christ Jesus. Guys, college football talk, and we're ready to rock and roll. Man, was Week 12 a doozy. I was 3-1 in my picks. 3-1. You know how pumped I am right now, 3-1, because last week I was 4-0. I wish I would have gotten one of those right, but guess what? We're going to talk about that one at the very end. We're going to go over the 3 that I got right first. But 3-1, I'm back at picking games again. I'm starting to feel the groove a little bit, and I'm pumped, and I'm super stoked to be, covering college football in general. We're just picking these games right. Guys, let's go with our Week 12 recap, because there's much to talk about on this show. Let's kick it off with Georgia and Texas. A big feel in this game in Athens Saturday night was Texas going to change the narrative? What I mean by change the narrative was Georgia's the favorite in this game. Georgia kind of has Texas's number, right? Were they going to flip the narrative? Were they going to get right back into the college football playoff talk? Were they going to, upset Georgia? Was Arch going to have a career game, right? I picked Georgia to win the game. I thought they were going to win and cover 10+, and they did. It was pretty much a very bold decision, and I think it was a very confident decision that I made this past Thursday with George Reister from the Unafraid Show. Shout out to George Reister. That's my guy right there. He's the man. So, final score of this game was 35-10. Georgia beats Texas. Georgia is I will argue with this. I think Georgia's probably one of, if not the most physical team in college football right now. Mic drop moment there. I think they are pretty much, in my thoughts, one of the most, or if not the most physical team in the sport. I would line them up, besides against Alabama for some reason, because they can't beat Bama, but I would line them up, besides Bama, I would line them up, Georgia, I'm talking, against anybody. I really would, and I would give them a shot, because I think that's kind of where we're at with Georgia right now. The way they are playing, they are getting better and better as the season goes. Gunnar Stockton is a quarterback that really does make plays in big-time games. So if you have anybody to count on, like, oh, we need a quarterback to count on, Gunnar Stockton is your guy. He is your dude. And he made some big plays in this game. Let's talk about it. Gunnar Stockton was a positive circle moment. 5 total touchdowns. He had 29 yards on the ground, 6 carries. He was 24 for 29 and 229 yards passing. He had 1 pick, which was not the best, but man, he had 5 total touchdowns and 229 yards passing. He was pretty accurate in that game. He had one of the best games he's had all year Saturday night. He was a huge positive circle moment. Got the pin out. I got the pin out. Positive circle moment for this Georgia Bulldogs team. Really, he was really good in this game. The running was good. Nate Frazier, 72 yards, 16 carries. Bowens had 19 yards, 8 carries. I feel like the running, they had 128 rushing yards total in this ball game, which was pretty solid against a very stout Texas rushing defense. And then they just out-physicaled them. I think they out-physicaled them to a T. They won the line of scrimmage battle, which was a big key for me in this ball game. Out-physical the Longhorns, and they needed to do that, and they did. On paper, they won the matchup. 357 total yards compared to their 274 total yards. 128 rushing yards compared to their only 23. We're going to get to that here in a little bit when we talk about Texas. 5.6 yards per play compared to their 4.6 yards per play. And then you had also 1 penalty for 15 yards. 35 minutes in time of possession compared to their 24 minutes in time of possession. They played some very disciplined football. They were very physical. They were very tough. And Georgia is pretty much, in my opinion, a lock for the college football playoff. Once again, I believe they're going to make it. Now, the question is, they have Charlotte this week. I believe they're going to win that one easily. If they lose to Georgia Tech, is that going to defer anything? Personally, I don't. I think that's a very good loss, especially if it's a potential ACC champion in Georgia Tech, right? So I'm not saying anything about that yet, but and that's probably going to be a pigskin game for next week as well for Showdown Saturday, round number 3. Guest picker to be decided. But I will say this. I will say about Georgia. Win or lose, I think that they're in. I think they've done enough. I think the body of work is there. Now, the question is, are they going to get to the SEC championship or not? Who knows? They could. They could go to the SEC championship with a second loss, maybe. I would believe. I mean, they only have 1 conference loss, and it's against Alabama. If Bama loses in the Iron Bowl, debatable, right? It's going to be a debatable thing. Right now, Bama's got the lead, but we'll see what happens there. But I think Georgia's a shoe-in for the playoff. I think they're ready to rock and roll. I would be skeptical of playing Georgia this year in the playoff. I said that last year, and Georgia proved me wrong on that. I think this year they would prove me right. I think Georgia has the capabilities of making a deep playoff run once again. They're more physical this year. They can run the ball a lot better this year. Gunnar Stockton is much more effective as a quarterback overall than Carson Beck was last year. Stockton's ready. He's battle-tested, and they are hungry. They are very hungry. And like I said, physicality-wise, I would line them up against anyone in the sport right now. I really would. That includes Ohio State. That includes Texas A&M and Indiana. I'm not saying that Georgia would win. I'm saying I like the matchup. I really do. I like the matchup. I think Georgia's a really good football team. I'm high on Georgia. What can I say? I've been high on Georgia for a minute. So, final score of this game was 35-10. Georgia's ready to rock and roll. They got Charlotte, then Georgia Tech to close out their season. Their fate to Atlanta is unknown, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be, let's get that lock in, that lock and maybe start to lock the key in there a little bit with that lock, right? Because I think they're a lock in the college football playoff. Let's talk about Texas really quick, and then we'll talk about the other 2 games that I got right and the 1 game that I got wrong. Texas scored only 10 points in this ball game. They really couldn't do anything. Now, here's the deal. Before anybody says, oh, look at what Arch did in this ball game. Look at what Arch did. It was Arch this, Arch that. Arch was 27 for 43, 251 yards, 1 touchdown. He also, and I will say this, he didn't have barely any rushing. He couldn't run the ball as well. And Texas couldn't run the ball as well that much either. I will say this, though. I think Arch played a really decent game in Athens. Now, a lot of people are going to say, are you insane? I may be, but from what I saw, a lot of the throws that I saw, a lot of the decisions that he made, I think he played a pretty decent game in Athens on Saturday night. I think that the problem was not as much as Arch. I think the problems that have been plaguing Texas all year, right, have been the O-line. Of course, the receivers didn't really help Arch out by dropping a few, yes. But I will say this. If we want to go to talk about positive and negative circle moments, here are the positives. 251 passing yards. I think Arch was a positive circle moment for the Texas Longhorns in this game. And I will say they showed a little bit of resilience, with that touchdown in the third, right? So here's the deal. Yes, I think overall, I think overall, those are the positives for Texas. Now, the negatives, if you want to look at the negative circle moments, 23 rushing yards. They were 2 for 12 on third down. They allowed 3 sacks. They had the pick, yes. They couldn't stay on the field on offense. That defense was smothering them. 9 penalties for 58 yards. I think the 9 penalties for 58 yards was pretty much cost them the ball game. I think the penalties were very costly in this game. I think they kept shooting themselves in the foot with penalties this whole game, and it's what led to them losing the ball game. Yes, offensive line and in line of scrimmage play, they couldn't out-physical Georgia, and Georgia out-physical them. Yes, I'm giving Georgia all its credit. I'm going to give credit where it's due to Texas, and I'm also going to give them pointers on this. Yes, Texas looked okay with Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning played decent enough, not good enough, but decent enough. I think he could have made a lot better play. Sure, he could have been a lot better, 100%. I'm not saying that. I think the help around him did not do him any justice, though. They couldn't stay on the field long enough. The defense was smothering them. They were out. The offensive line was getting out physicaled and outmanned. And not only that, the penalties were costly. So I think if you look at all that, those are key ingredients of a loss. And they lost. They're out of the playoff, in my opinion. I know, look, I love Kirk Herbstreit. He's my guy. I love watching him. I grew up watching him. What he said during the broadcast, when he was saying they could go in a 9-3. It's a good win against Texas A&M, rather. I don't believe that. I still think they're gonna be out. I really do. I just don't see Texas getting in as a 9-3 team. I really don't. I just can't see it. That's nothing against the Longhorns. I'm not trying to say anything bad about Texas. All their games they have lost have been on the road. They haven't lost a home game. So it can be very telling with Texas A&M. But or we'll find out next Friday night in Black Friday. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't think Texas is going to matter. I think Texas is out. I think this loss hurt them. And you're going to be shocked I have Texas in my frenzy rankings for week 13. Spoiler alert. You're probably either going to be shocked where I have them, or some of you may not be shocked. Who knows? But I just don't think Texas is in. I think they're done. I think this is it. I think next year we will see what Texas is about when Arch had a full season starting. And if Arch decides to come back, I believe he should. We're going to see how Texas is then, especially with a revamped O-line. So I think the season for Longhorns fans, especially in my eyes, is I picked him to win the SEC. I had them in the national championship. So I think this season was a little bit of a letdown, yes, and it was a season that fans and Texas Longhorn faithful were not expecting, obviously. So now what do you do for 2026? That's what we need to start preparing for. Yeah, prepare for A&M, prepare for the rest of the games you got, prepare for the bowl game as well. I just don't see them getting in. I just don't see how they can be put in as a 3-loss team. It is not, to me, the 12-team playoff, and I keep saying this, the 12-team playoff does not need 3-loss teams in there. 1, 2 losses, fine. And undefeateds, obviously, fine. 2 losses is the max. 2 losses are the max on the schedule. I think if you lose 3 games, you should be out, especially in the 12-team field. That's my thoughts. Final score of this game was 35-10. Georgia defeats Texas. It was a very physical game. I thought Georgia was going to win. That's their kryptonite. It really is. It is their kryptonite. Texas has a kryptonite, and it is the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia wins 35-10. Georgia is on their way, I believe, to the playoff. Texas is going to go with the drawing board. Let's see what happens with Texas this week and next week. Texas has Arkansas this week. Then they got to go play Texas A&M at home. Both of those games are at home. So that was their last road game this year. Georgia has Charlotte this week at home. You know who also played this weekend? Notre Dame and Pitt played this weekend. I picked Notre Dame to win that ball game. And I thought that, I was like, look, man, if you want to be real, like come on, if you want to be real on this, I thought Notre Dame was going to win the game. I thought they were going to probably cover. Yeah, I thought they were going to cover. I just thought that Notre Dame had the better mentality in this game than Pitt did heading in to the whole game itself. Final score was 37-15. Notre Dame beats Pitt. And I was right. I mean, look, they scored 14 points in the matter of like a couple of minutes in the first quarter. I mean, there was a huge spin move, PlayStation 5-like move with Jeremiah Love. And then it was a pick six, I believe. Like, it was a pick six, I believe, to the end zone. Intercepted pick six to the end zone, touchdown. By Mason Heinchel. It was Heinchel threw a pick. It was a really good game for Notre Dame. I just felt like in that game, Notre Dame was separating themselves and Pitt couldn't hang on. That's how I viewed it. And I feel like that's the best way to describe it. C.J. Carr, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 21 for 32. He had 2 interceptions in this game. Carr also had 3 total touchdowns. Actually, he had a rushing touchdown for 7 yards, 5 carries. Jeremiah Love had 147 yards, 23 carries, and 1 touchdown. Positive circle moment was Jeremiah Love. He is one of the best, if not the best, running back in the sport. I mean, you could argue Ahmad Hardy from Missouri, but Jeremiah Love's up there. Jadarian Price had 21 yards, but Jeremiah Love was putting up numbers once again against Pitt's defense, and that offense, they were just going. Marcus Freeman had the Irish ready to play. Positive circle moments through this, and we'll go on, and then we'll give you my thoughts overall. Overall, they won the whole thing. I mean, the only thing, I will give you my negatives. On Notre Dame, but obviously on paper, they outmatched them. 387 yards compared to their 219. 212 passing yards compared to their 140. 175 rushing yards compared to their 70. Total rushing yards was 70 for them. 5.7 yards per play compared to their 3.4 yards per play. They had 20 first downs. They were 3 for 5 on fourth down. They only allowed 1 sack. They only punted once. And they had 35 minutes and 17 seconds of time of possession compared to their 24 minutes and 43 seconds. So they dominated this game in majority of these aspects of the game. The positive circle moments all around. Here are the negatives, though. Third down efficiency, 4 for 12. They had 8 penalties for 84 yards. I think those are the 2 things they need to clean up, especially as they head into the college football playoff. Look, Notre Dame's in. I believe, unless there's a surprise upset Saturday at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central on NBC against Syracuse. Or if they win that game, if Stanford beats them at 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central on ESPN on Saturday, November 29th, on Thanksgiving weekend, on Showdown Saturday. If Stanford beats them then Notre Dame's probably out. But right now, I just don't favor them in both of those games. I think Notre Dame's in. I think they're going to win out. I think they're in. And I think that Marcus Freeman's going to bring them to another college football playoff appearance, a second straight college football playoff appearance. He's done a heck of a job at Notre Dame. He's got them ready to play. They have bounced back from a lot of the allegations of their schedule, of how they've been playing. They have bounced back in a big way since that Boston College game. I believe, at least. That Boston College game was a couple of weeks ago. They bounced back in a big way. They beat Navy down. They beat Pitt down a little. Yeah, I mean, I would say that. They beat Pitt down. And now they got 2 games left on the schedule. The Irish are coming, and they don't look like they're backing down. Now, Can Syracuse and Stanford pull off the upset? Anything has happened. Anything can happen in college football. I believe that with all of my heart because I've seen it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame's going to just mollywop everybody else, and then they're going to ride off into the sunset into the playoff. Most likely scenario, I believe that could happen. But anything is possible. So I'm not going to sit here and say definitively. I will sit here and say this. My prediction of Notre Dame, they're going to the playoff. I think they win out. I just don't see them losing another game. That's just my thoughts. I could be very wrong. Surprises have happened all the time. Who knows? We could get a surprise. We'll see what happens. But Notre Dame beat Pitt. I just believe that this game was a mismatch, and the mentality was wrong from the beginning on Pitt's end. They got Syracuse Saturday, Notre Dame, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, and it should be a good game at home for the Irish. Final score of this game was 37-15. Let's talk about Pitt really quick before we move on to the other two games and then coaching talk and obviously Frenzy rankings. We got to discuss that. Pitt in this game looked like Notre Dame was just running away with it, but Pitt was trying to grasp for plays to where, okay, we're going to try to make this a game. And then Notre Dame would just keep separating themselves. Just keep separating themselves with another big chunk play, with another big run, with another big pass. Physicality. It was just trending in the wrong direction for Pitt. I think that started during the press conference. And I know a lot of people are going to say, dude, knock it off with the press conference talk with Pat Narduzzi and all that stuff. Look, I think that it really did start there. I'm not going to lie, I do. Tell me something. How are you going to feel as a football player if your head coach in the press conference Monday before the game, like a few days before the game, which is on Monday or Tuesday, I think it was Monday, whenever it was, goes to the podium and they ask him, is this a must-win game for you Saturday? And he says, we can get beat by 100 as long as we win our conference games. Was he right about the conference game scenario? Absolutely he was. The conference games matter. But here's the deal. Yes, Saturday's a must-win game. Because Saturday puts a deeper hole into your playoff chances. Of course it's a must-win. It's Notre Dame. You get a chance to knock them out, but stack your resume further. Yes, it's a must-win game. So how does that look, and how does that mentality blend with your players and your team? They're going to play like this game doesn't matter. That's my point. I just want the pressure to be off of them. I understand that, but this is college football. You gotta have pressure, man. The pressure builds when you're having a good season because you're going to either do two things when you have that pressure. You're going to grab it by the throat and you're going to shove it down and say, you know what? We beat the pressure, screw it, and we're going to go off and we're going to go, and do great things. Or number two, you're either going to crack under the pressure and you're going to cave to that pressure, and the pressure is going to smother you, and you're going to end up losing. But pressure is always going to be there in college football, especially when you're trying to make a run at a conference title, and especially when you're trying to make a run at a playoff bid. That's common. My honest thoughts on this game was they felt like, to me, they really weren't really in the game mentally. And I'm not going to sit here and say, you're going to do what are you talking about? I just don't think that in this that they had in the game, how they played, how they acted. It just felt like Notre Dame cared about this game a lot more than Pitt did, and Notre Dame made them pay for it. I think if Pitt would have had a better motivation week, and they would have been more hyped mentally prepared for this game, they probably would have played them a lot closer. I'm not going to say the result would have changed, or the outcome. Notre Dame could have still won. Who knows? But I think Pitt could have played them a lot better. I really do, because I think Pitt's a really good football team. I think mentally they weren't prepared because of the things that were said. I really do. 3.4 yards per play, 70 rushing yards total, are negative circle moments. Here's a negative circle moment. 4 sacks allowed, 0 for 13 on third down. They were 0% on third down. They did not convert on third down once. You're most likely going to lose ball games that way. Here's the good stat, though, that I found. They only had 1 pick six. They were pretty clean, right? They were pretty clean. They protected the ball, and they played disciplined football as well. I mean, they had 5 penalties for 41 yards. Not the best, but it's not too terrible. So those are some positive circle moments as well. I think Mason Heinschel made some decent enough throws as well, and I think he's the truth, and I think he's going to get even better. So I think he is a positive circle moment as well. Pitt overall next week has Georgia Tech. Spoiler alert, they're a Pigskin Frenzy game again. Pitt and Georgia Tech is a Pigskin Frenzy game. That's a 7 Eastern, 6 Central kick. A 7 Eastern, 6 Central kick in Atlanta in Bobby Dodd Stadium at Georgia Tech. An crucial ACC conference game there. Pitt and Georgia Tech is a conference game and a Pigskin Frenzy game for Week 13. So we're going to see how it goes. I'm not picking it, obviously, but right now they're third in the conference. Let's see what happens. They have to be ready for this game and be prepared mentally for this game. Final score was 37-15. Notre Dame defeats Pitt, and Notre Dame's on the way to the playoff. Pitt has to fight against Georgia Tech on Saturday night. I want to see a better effort mentally. I want to see a better effort physically from Pitt this Saturday. I just want to see it. I think Pitt's a better football team than realized. And I think they could have played a way better game than they played if they were prepared the right way, emotionally and mentally, for this game. And this game could have been a lot closer. But Notre Dame wins 37-15. Let's talk about 2 more games before we go on to the coaching carousel talk and the Frenzy rankings. Iowa and USC played each other. And Iowa and USC was a rainy game, smash mouth football. Iowa's been in those rainy games as of late. And I said that USC was going to win. Iowa was going to cover. It was going to be like a 27-24 game. I got the score wrong. I was pretty close on the score. Almost accurate on the score of this game. But I said USC was going to win, and they did. Final score was USC 26, Iowa 21. 26-21. Iowa had a good first half. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. USC kind of started off sluggish because of the rain, most likely. But I was saying, I said on X during the game, and I was like, I want to see some toughness from Lincoln Riley and USC. I want to see some toughness instilled in this Trojan team in the second half. I want to see that. Where is it? I want to see it. They came out, and they played some pretty tough football in the trenches, and they made some good, positive plays to win the ball game. Went up on them in the third, scored 9 unanswered in the third, and then scored another 7 unanswered in the fourth, and that won the game. They played better defense in the ball game as well in the second half. So USC found some life in the second half after going to the locker room, got motivated, and won the game outright. So, and I think that Lincoln Riley got it done. Here's the deal about this, and look, they are, 8-2. They are right where I said they needed to be during the preseason. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. I'm going to go back to that. So hold on to that thought, what I just said. They are right where they needed to be. I'm going to get back to that statement. Let's go with positive and negative circle moments. Positives, Jaden Mayala, 23 for 32, 251 yards, 1 touchdown. How about Brian Jackson? Brian Jackson had 2 touchdowns on the ground. How about King Miller? He had 83 yards, 19 carries. Mekhi Lemon was an absolute dog this game. He had 153 yards, 10 receptions, 1 touchdown, 15.3 yards per reception on average. And Jacoby Lane, 65 yards, 7 receptions. This offense with Lane, Lemon, and Mayava are clicking. The running game's good with Jackson and Miller. Don't get me wrong, but the offense is pretty good. And they were pretty physical up front in the trenches as well. So they were pretty good, and that was a positive circle moment, especially in the rain, especially passing for 254 yards in the rain like that. Pretty impressive if you're Jaden Mayava and Lincoln Riley and USC. Let's talk about the passing. 254 yards on paper. They had 360 yards total compared to Iowa's 320. They got outgained in rushing and yards per play, but I'm going to tell you what, 50% on third down, which is pretty good. 5 for 10 on third down, 50%. They only allowed Let me see. They only allow 2 sacks, which is not the best compared to Iowa's, obviously, because Iowa didn't allow any. But I will say this, it's not terrible. Not terrible. And they played clean ball. Protected the ball, 0 turnovers, and they only had 3 penalties for 30 yards. So it's not really too terrible. I mean, the only negative I would say was allowed the 2 sacks, and then they should run the ball a little bit more. I think those are the only 2 negative circle moments. The pin's going again. Those are the only negative circle moments I can think of for USC. Let's go back to the statement I had. Spoiler alert, I said this on X. Oregon and USC is a Pigskin Frenzy game for Week 13. And it should be, because to me, it's the biggest game this weekend, I believe. And we're going to do it Week 13 on Thursday. We're going to talk about that at the end of the show. And I said this on X. But USC is right where they need to be. Because they got Oregon 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, 12:30 local time, their time, on CBS on Saturday. I think they're right where they need to be. I said 8 to 9 wins for Lincoln Riley's seat to cool down. I think it's cooled down. I think it's only gotten stronger for coaching carousel wise. I'm hearing a lot of stuff about Lincoln Riley, coaching rumors on Lincoln Riley going to another job and leaving USC. I don't know why he would leave USC. That's just me. But 8-2. 8-2. I said that they need to win 8 to 9 games for his seat at USC to cool down a little bit and for USC fans to just simmer down. And it has. He has bounced back in a big way this year, I think. A lot of people are going to say, dude, have you been watching USC? I've watched USC for a minute. Yeah, I've watched USC all year. I've watched all teams all year. I've seen them play. They're 8-2. Could be 9-2 if they win Saturday. They're in line for a playoff spot. They're in do or die mode mentality now. I know that they're one loss away from being not in the playoff, but I'm going to tell you what. 8-2 is way better than they were last year. Way better. And I think that I said they needed to be here, and now they're here. We're going to see what happens on Saturday. A lot of implications go into Saturday. A lot. And what I mean by that is when I talk about playoff implications, it's not just about for Oregon and USC in this. Other teams in the Big Ten, and you're gonna say this. A lot of people are gonna say, "Are you serious on this?" Michigan is on the outside. So if USC loses and if Michigan wins out, hard, because look who they got. Not Saturday, but next Saturday in the game, right? Potential spoiler there for a Pigskin game. Look who they got. Look who they got. They could, if Michigan wins out and they win against Ohio State, that's the best win that everybody's had all year. And they could be in. They should be in. If USC loses. But if Oregon loses, that could hurt Michigan. Maybe. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting and very telling Saturday. Implications for the college football playoff, especially Big Ten teams for at-large spots, are going to be very telling in this game on Saturday. So I'm very curious to see it. I'm very curious to see what happens with the USC on Saturday. Final score of this game was 26-21. USC's got Oregon on Saturday. Cannot wait to see it. It's going to be a pigskin game, and we cannot wait to cover that one on Saturday. Let's talk about Iowa. Then we're going to talk about the last game, and then we're going to get into coaching carousel. Talk a little bit, my thoughts on that, and then the frenzy rankings as well. Iowa did not play all that bad of a game. I don't think they did. I think the first half was really good for them. I mean, honestly, if you want to look at the score summary, they were up 21-10 at the half. So, and they were playing very physical ball. Mark Gronowski was making big plays. Like I said, that was a big key to do. He made some big plays early on. It was 21-10 at the half. It was 21-7 in the second quarter. So it's like, I mean, honestly, dude, when you look at everything, Iowa didn't play a bad game. I just think USC had the better second half a little bit, and Iowa kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. That's how I view it. I think they took off their foot off the gas in a little bit. 183 yards, positive circle moment, six yards per play, positive circle moment. I think that 320 total yards in the rain, positive circle moment for Iowa. And I 0 sacks allowed. They protected Mark Gronowski. Positive circle moments there for Iowa. Here comes the negatives, though. Yes, they had the one crucial turnover in the ball game. And I think that kind of hurt them a little bit. 6 penalties for 70 yards did hurt them as well also. I didn't think that gave them any favors. I think those are the two negative circle moments wrapped up in the ingredients there to, guess what, lose the game. So I think Iowa cost themselves a little bit in that regard. But overall, it was a back-and-forth game in the trenches, very physical overall from both teams. Iowa's officially out, yes, but I think they're going to go to a good bowl game. I still think Iowa's a good team. I honestly, they have Michigan State and they have Nebraska. To be fair, they have Nebraska on Black Friday, next Friday. I favor them against both teams. I really do. I think that they are in line for a 9-win season. 8 to 9 win season, which is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. They've fallen from 4th to 6th in the Big Ten, sure, but I think it's still pretty good, an 8 to 9 win season. They're going bowling. I favor them in the rest of their games, and I'm curious to see what they can do next year as they keep building. I want to see what Iowa can do next year because Iowa surprised me this year, and I think if Iowa keeps rolling the way they're rolling and keeps going the way they're going in recruiting and portal-wise, building up NIL-wise as well, I think Iowa can be I wouldn't say overall contender, but a team to watch out for next year in the Big Ten again. So we'll see what happens. But Iowa's got Michigan State on Saturday. I favor them in that game. USC's got Oregon. Final score of this game was 26-21. USC on the road to a huge showdown with Oregon with CFP implications. Iowa going back to the drawing board. They got Michigan State on Saturday, which I do, like I said, favor them in that game. Rainy game that was. Those are the games I got right. Let's go to the one that I got wrong. Oklahoma at Alabama. Oklahoma and Alabama, last but not least. Let's talk about this one. 406 total yards Alabama had. 212 total yards for Oklahoma. Passing yards, 326 passing compared to their 138 passing. Running the ball, Alabama didn't do great, but neither did Oklahoma, but they outgained them in that. 80 yards total for Alabama rushing compared to Oklahoma's 74 rushing yards. 5.4 yards per play for Alabama compared to Oklahoma's 4.2 yards per play. Third down efficiency, 5 for 13. Oklahoma, 3 for 13. Penalties, 2 penalties, 25 yards. Penalties for Oklahoma, 5 penalties for 37 yards. 34 minutes and 28 seconds compared to their 25 minutes. Oklahoma's 25 minutes and 32 seconds. And the final score of this game was Oklahoma 23 and Alabama 21. Why do you say that, Joel? Because the 0 in one column of the game was good for Oklahoma rather than Alabama's. Alabama had 3 turnovers in this game, and Oklahoma capitalized on each and every one of them. 17 points capitalized off those turnovers. The reason why Oklahoma won that game, I believe, was yes, their defense was legit in that game because their defense played lights out in that game, and they had the 3 turnovers and capitalized off those. Huge positive circle moment for Oklahoma there, and it's do-or-die mentality for the Sooners, and they kept on going in Bryant-Denny. Brent Venables, man, they look good. I just gave you all the stats there. Now I'm just giving you my thoughts and positive circle moments here, but Oklahoma is in it. They're in it. They're in it. And the thing is, I'm going to sit here and say this. They made me eat my words. I said that Alabama was going to win 31-21, and Bama was going to roll late in the fourth. Oklahoma, I'm looking at you and dead in your eye. Brent Venables, I'm looking at you dead in your eye if you see this. You and Oklahoma made me eat my words. You made me eat my words. Oklahoma and Missouri is a Pigskin Frenzy game for Week 13. Spoiler alert, it is. Oklahoma is in do or die mode right now. If Oklahoma loses, they're out. If they keep on winning, they're in. It is a good thing that Oklahoma got a huge win here. Huge win because it keeps them in it. Yes, they didn't do good running the ball. That's a negative circle moment. Yes, third down efficiency wasn't the best. That's a negative circle moment. They 5 penalties for 37 yards, not the best, but not too terrible. Yes, they punted 6 times, not the best. I mean, but here are the positive circle moments. So those were the negatives. Here's the positives. The positives were huge defense by them, big down defense. Tate Sandell, because Tate Sandell's the man, best kicker in college football, I believe. And then the turnovers, 17 points off those 3 turnovers. That's the reason why Oklahoma won this ball game. And, yes, special teams. Special teams was a huge factor. Bama got out-coached in the special teams area. And Oklahoma got them. Oklahoma got them there. And I think that's a huge factor there. Huge factor. Oklahoma, like I said, is in do or die. We're going to see what happens. Missouri and LSU is next on their schedule. If they win, they're in. Simple as that. They win, they're in. I believe that they got to get better at certain areas, but they played a lot better than they did against Tennessee. I can tell you that. A lot of the things about Alabama, and I'm going to talk about Alabama here in a little bit, a lot of this game surprised me a little bit because I thought Alabama would win in those matchups, and a lot of the matchups that Oklahoma won in, and they didn't. So we're going to talk about that, but Oklahoma, all I got to do is win. It's a huge win for them. Back-to-back wins against Alabama. It's been a minute since somebody has beaten Alabama back-to-back twice in back-to-back years. It's been a minute. I believe the last team to do it, well, no, it's not been a minute. It was Michigan. If you count Michigan bowl games, it was Michigan. But if you're talking about regular season, it's been a minute for me. At least for me, it's been a minute. I mean, OU did it. So all props to Brent Venables. All props to the defense and Mateer play okay, but the defense was all over this team. So final score of this game was 23-21. Oklahoma defeats Alabama. They got Mizzou Saturday. Let's see what happens. Very interesting game. They have Mizzou, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central in Norman, Oklahoma. Going to be an interesting game. We're going to see what happens. Let's talk about Alabama really quick. We'll move on to the coaching carousel talk and the Frenzy playoff rankings as well. Alabama in this game. Now, I will say this. Do they have trouble stretching the field through the pass? Sure, they do. But they can create some explosive plays, which is good enough, and the offensive staff's elite enough to where they can work around kind of not running the football, right? And not being good at running the ball. So they can work around it. Now, against a strong defense like Oklahoma, they had trouble. Now, what's going to happen in a couple of weeks or next Saturday? I don't know. They play Eastern Illinois Saturday. I think they're going to win that. I think they're going to win that game, go 9-2. But what's going to happen? 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central next Saturday in Jordan-Hare in the Iron Bowl. A nothing to lose, do or die game. What's going to happen? I'm going to get back to that in a little bit. 406 total yards, 326 passing, 5.4 yards per play, 5 for 13 on third down, 2 for 3 on third down. Positive circle moments there, and they had 2 penalties for 25 yards. Positive circle moments for Alabama in this ball game. Here are the negatives. They couldn't run the ball. 80 rushing yards total. They had 3 turnovers where Oklahoma capitalized off those turnovers, and 4 sacks allowed in this ball game. They had great time of possession. Those things, though, not being able to run the ball properly and 3 turnovers, when they have 0, is a game killer. You're going to lose. So, and not being able to capitalize on special teams as well. They didn't do good in special teams that day either. They had missed field goals. So, I mean, special teams, OU on the special teams battle as well. So, all the ingredients, those are the main ingredients, could be for a loss, and they lost in those matchups. I think those are the negative circle moments for Alabama. I think Alabama is in a do-or-die mode now to where in Jordan-Hare, if they lose everything. But they're going up against a team that has nothing to lose and who's willing to throw caution to the wind in Auburn. Because they did that against Vanderbilt. Did they lose in overtime? Yes, but they brought Vandy. That was the best. That was Auburn's best game that we've seen all year. It really was. Against Vanderbilt in Nashville, they lost, but that was their best game that we've seen all year from them. I believe that we may see something similar to that in Jordan-Hare. 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, the Iron Bowl. It is a unique thing. The Iron Bowl is a night game on next Saturday night, and we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna discuss it because I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Showdown Saturday is going to be very interesting next week here at Pigskin Frenzy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where to go. It's hard to bet against Alabama. I think Alabama could win, maybe, but Alabama has to still work around some of those limitations they have on the offense. And will they be able to do that against Auburn's defense? A nothing to lose mentality Auburn offense. That's going to be tricky. That's going to be very tricky. So let's pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. Final score of this game was 23-21. Not the best recap I've done. We're probably thinking, really that quick, huh? We got some other stuff to talk about, but there's really nothing else to say other than Oklahoma. And the thing is, I'm not saying this with shock on my voice because I think Oklahoma played well enough, and they made me eat my words. They played well enough. Now Alabama is where OU is, the do or die mentality. And you're going into a place where chaos happens, especially Iron Bowl wise, in Jordan-Hare, and they're playing against a nothing to lose mentality. So do or die or nothing to lose mentality. That's what we're going up against, and that's what we're seeing. Who wins that? Going to be very interesting to see in a couple of weeks. 23-21's final score. Oklahoma beats Alabama and upsets them. Oklahoma's got Missouri this Saturday. Alabama's got Eastern Illinois. Going to be very tricky. Alabama can't lose because if they lose, they're done. Atlanta-wise and CFP-wise, they lose it all. So we will see what happens on next Saturday and this Saturday with OU and Missouri. That is the Week 12 recap. Let's talk about coaching carousel, and we'll do Frenzy playoff rankings for Week 13. Here's some news. Some Week 3, Virginia Tech fired Brent Pry as their head coach, and we've been thinking, okay, down the stretch, they're probably going to be one of the ones that hire someone, right, earlier probably because they've been in the thick of the coaching stretch, right? Then there's been some talk of, okay, James Franklin might be an option. And we're garnering some interest. We're interested in him. Arkansas was interested in him. I don't think he was interested in Arkansas. It didn't sound like he was. But then you have what was going on with the Florida State situation, everything going on there. You're wondering this stuff. But Virginia Tech wanted some James Franklin, and they got him. Virginia Tech has hired James Franklin as their head coach. This is a home run hire for Virginia Tech because it's a massive hire. He's going to bring in great portal recruits. He's going to bring in great high school recruits. He is going to coach them and develop them well. And Virginia Tech's going to be back on top here shortly. He's going to have a great NIL budget to work with. He's going to have great facilities to work with and resources to work with at Virginia Tech. And I got to go to Blacksburg soon because I know that I was supposed to make the trip a few weeks back, and I couldn't, unfortunately, due to circumstances. But I got to make the trip to Blacksburg, Virginia soon. Hopefully I can meet James Franklin. That'd be awesome. Let me go on and tell you something, man. Enter Sandman is going to be rocking next year, especially with James Franklin rocking as their head coach, as their Hokie head football coach. Good hire. I thought Shane Beamer was going to be the leading candidate for the job. I was wrong. I think this is a bigger hire. I think this is a better hire. I think they're going to be at the top of the ACC again before we know it with this. And people are going to have to pay attention to this hire. He's a good football coach, man. I think James Franklin is a good football coach. Was the big game thing an issue? Probably, sure. Here's the deal. He's going to have a better schedule at Virginia Tech than he did at Penn State. He is going to I think, win a lot of games for Virginia Tech that Virginia Tech has not seen here in quite some time. He is known to win 10 to 11 games a year. He is known to be successful at Vanderbilt and Penn State for the past 10 years, 10 to 12 years. And Virginia Tech is looking at that and thinking, we need some of that. We need some wins and to be consistently a winner. And Virginia Tech is probably going to be a consistent winner now. I like the hire. I think it's a good hire. I think Virginia Tech did well. Everything's agreed upon. He's going to be the next head coach. He's got some good resources there. I think he's got some good NIL money to work with, good budget to work with, portal, recruiting, everything. I think he's got it. I think he's got something there at Virginia Tech, and James Franklin is the next head coach there. It's going to be a very interesting thing there. My honest thoughts, great hire. I like it. I think they're back. I really do. I think Virginia Tech is back in the thick of things in the ACC next year. And I will say next year. I think they're going to be much improved next year now. So we're going to see what happens, but I think they're going to be much improved. Man, Virginia Tech hiring James Franklin. Good on them, man. And good on James Franklin. That move, honestly, makes me think, honestly, is Penn State's hire going to be any better? Did they make a mistake letting James Franklin go? A lot of people are saying they did. I'm starting to trend that direction, but we will see. We're going to see. Last but not least, before we go on to the Frenzy rankings, because that was a good talk there. That's just my overall thoughts on Virginia Tech hiring James Franklin. Let's talk about Lane Kiffin for a little bit, because there's a lot of stuff going on with Lane Kiffin and the Lane Kiffin saga there. Are we in the good old days? Is this the final chapter? Am I making Ole Miss fans ticked off right now? Probably by saying all that stuff. There's just a lot going on with that for me. And how I'm going to word this is, I will say this. Would it surprise me if he stayed? No. Would it surprise me if he left? No. I don't think it would. I don't think anything would shock me at this point. I think there's a lot of, should I stay or should I go stuff going on, and he's teasing it on the social media, and a lot of people are saying, okay, we want better love than that. Okay. I think Lane Kiffin I think he has given a lot to the program. He has loved the fans and loved the program. A lot of people are going to say he hasn't, but I think he has. They're in a playoff run, for crying out loud. This is why, and then Trey Wallace from Outkick. Shout out to Trey. He's my good man, Trey. He's the man. Hopefully he's watching this. He tweeted about the calendar being is horrific. It is bad. The NCAA calendar for college football is horrific, with the portal and the jobs and the playoff, right? Expansion with the playoff, right? And it's tough, especially with job openings. It's tough because now we see reports of, Florida and Ole Miss played each other. Ole Miss won. There's some going around. Okay, I'm going to go to Gainesville. He's coming to Gainesville. No, he's staying in Oxford. We want Lane. Yeah, well, we want Lane. And Florida and Ole Miss are fighting on this end. And they're thinking, okay, right? We have all this thing going on, right? With is fighting back on who's gonna get the fight for their services. Meanwhile, we see a plane pull up to Baton Rouge, and it's the Kiffins. So it's like, yeah, you forgot about LSU, didn't you? Shame on them, and shame on people for forgetting about LSU. LSU's a major player in this as well. Honestly, they are. I would not forget about that. So LSU's much of a player in this, and Lane Kiffin, and this was, I think, announced yesterday. He is a top target for LSU, and LSU would love to have Lane Kiffin, it seems like, touring around Baton Rouge. So Ole Miss sees that, and now this is per The Athletic, according to them, there's a deadline. Lane has to make a decision before next Friday, because next Friday, that's their last game of the regular season. They don't have a game this week. They're on bye. Next Friday is their last game. Their next game is their last game. Next Friday against Mississippi State in Starkville in the Egg Bowl. So he's got a deadline there. And if he says, yes, I'm staying, I'm going to sign the extension, then welcome aboard. You're back. You're going to coach the playoff. All is well in Oxford. But what if he wants to hear the other offers? And what if he doesn't sign it? It's looking like there's a potential where Lane Kiffin doesn't coach Ole Miss in the playoff, which is surprising and crazy to think. It is a whole bunch of drama there. Not really drama. Yeah, you could say drama, but there's a whole bunch of layers to it. A whole bunch of layers to it. I'm not going to give you my thoughts on where he's going or all that. I don't know. Who knows? Only two people know where Lane Kiffin's going. The Lord and Lane Kiffin himself. And his family, of course. But Lane Kiffin, and most importantly, the Lord. The Lord knows where he's going. He knows the plan before we all do. But I'm going to sit here and say this. I think there's the cases for all three. I really do. Do I think that he has shown Ole Miss fan base love? I do. I don't see what they're seeing in that. However, I do agree with the Ole Miss athletic department. I agree with the ADs. I agree with the everything going on at Ole Miss, saying, "Hey, look, yeah, you're out here, touring. Yes, sure, it's awesome. Here's the deal: you're making posts, teasing. We're in the good old days, final chapter. No, let's stop and let's see what you're actually going to do." I think Ole Miss really just threw the ball in their court. I think if Lane does leave, Ole Miss is set up, and they're set up for a good head coach. This may make me change, in my opinion, may make me change the. This is my take. This may make me change my pick on the Auburn job, if you know what I mean. I think if Ole Miss comes open, I think John Summerall would be a very good fit there, because I know Tulane. I know he may say it Tulane. Who knows? I know Auburn wants John Summerall. But what I also know is that I think John Summerall could be a very good fit at Ole Miss as well, if that job opens up. But if Lane comes back and he's there, welcome aboard. You're back. You're here. You're staying. You're not only welcome aboard, you're still on board. So we're going to see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting week. I'm going to be on top of it. But I'm going to tell you this now, man. Should he stay or should he go? I don't know. But I'm going to say this. It is a tough decision. I get the Ole Miss's reasoning. I get Lane's reasoning on trying to stay, he's making drama out of it on posts. Yes, I don't understand that, but I get what he's saying at the press conferences and all that. I understand where he's coming from on that perspective, but I also understand where Ole Miss is coming from. Hey, we need to know something. Especially if we're a lock for the college football playoff, we need to know something. So I understand that. So wholeheartedly agree with Ole Miss, but I also see where Lane's coming from. We're going to see what happens. Very interesting with the Lane Kiffin saga. It is different. I don't know if he's leaving or not, but I will say this. Either move would be good. Either move could be good for him. So we'll see what happens. Very interesting down in Oxford. Last but not least, let's talk about the Frenzy playoff rankings. Let's get that going, and we will wrap up with our episode. Man, and our show. It's been a really good show. It has been a loaded show. James Franklin going to Virginia Tech. Lane Kiffin. The clash is in my head. Should I stay or should I go? We got Week 12 recaps. That was awesome. Now, the Frenzy ranking is going to be very interesting. Going to be very interesting because a lot of people are going to think, wait a minute, Joel. What are you doing here? What are you doing here with this move? Just bear with me. Just bear with me for this week. It's time for the Frenzy Playoff Rankings Week 13. And we are ready to rock and roll. We're going to post this on X and Instagram. Go and follow us on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. It is a doozy. So we're going to get ready to rock and roll. Frenzy Playoff Rankings Week 13. Number 25 is Texas. 3-loss team. We have only 2 3-loss teams in this. Texas is in there. They're number 25. I dropped them all the way down there. I don't think they are in the playoff. Yes, no. I don't think they are. But I do think that they are good enough to be ranked still. At 25, yes, but I do think that they're good enough to be ranked still. I think they're playing a little bit better football. They just ran into a brick wall against Georgia. 25 is Texas. 24 is Tennessee. We will see what happens coming up against Florida on Saturday. It is a very tough place to play, and it's been a very tough, history-wise, tough for Tennessee to go into Gainesville to get a win. So it's going to be very interesting to see. 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central on ABC, Tennessee at Florida, Saturday night. Going to be very interesting. Tennessee's 24 after Saturday. 23, 22, 21, and 20 and 19. Let's go with 23, Navy. Navy is right back in it. Navy is right back in it. And the reason why I say Navy is right back in it is because they beat South Florida. South Florida was in that spot last week. They are not in that spot now because they lost to the team that's in the spot now, Navy. Good win for Navy, and it puts them right back into the Group of 5 conversation. I do not know, I don't know if Navy's going to be the Group of 5 representative. I don't know. But I will say that they are still in the hunt. 22 is Tulane because they're also still in the hunt. Tulane is still in the hunt. They're most likely going to have a spot in the American Conference Championship with John Summerall. They could have a playoff spot. We will see what happens with Tulane. Going to be very interesting. Number 21 is Houston. Let me tell you something about Willie Fritz in Houston. I said during the Media Day recap for the Big 12, I think, and not just that, the conference standing projections back in June. It's November now. I said that Willie Fritz and Houston are on the rise. Just give them another year. Well, it's a year too early, or maybe a year early in general. They're 8-2. 8-2 with Connor Wingman at quarterback and the Cougars down there in Houston, Texas. Willie Fritz is doing wonders with Houston down there. He's doing a remarkable job. They are 4th in the Big 12 because if Utah loses, here comes Houston. And if Houston wins out and anything happens to Utah, if anything happens to BYU, here comes Houston. Houston's had a loss. They've had 2 losses. They lost to Texas Tech. They did. Houston lost to Texas Tech this season. Yeah, but here's the deal, man. They're in it again. They're right back in it. They lost to West Virginia, and they lost to Texas Tech. Sure, they're right back in the conversation, though. If they win. They just got to win out. And they need help from BYU. They need help from BYU. They need help from Utah. If those 2 teams lose and Houston wins out the next 2 weeks, they're in. Houston's in the race. 4th in the Big 12. Going to be very interesting. And if Houston wins it all, guess where they're at? The college football playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Houston. That's why they're in. Do not discount Houston out just yet. They're number 21. Number 20 is James Madison. Bob Chesney Jr. is doing a heck of a job at James Madison, man. He is doing a heck of a job. I think he's going to get hired from a job soon. I don't know if it's going to be this year or maybe after next year, potentially, but he is going to be a head coaching candidate somewhere, and he's a good coach. So James Madison's 20. I would not discount anything from them going to the playoff. I think they could go very much well be in the college football playoff as the G5 representative, and I think they have every right to be mentioned as a G5 representative in the playoff. James Madison does. They have worked hard, and they are a 1-loss team in the Sun Belt, so we'll see what happens there. Number 19 and the highest group of 5 ranked team, which would be in my projected playoff bracket, North Texas is number 19 on our list. They're a 1-loss team. They're winning, and they're keeping on winning. Drew Messenbaker and Eric Morris doing a heck of a job there. They keep on winning, and they're in the American Conference Championship, and if they win that, they most likely could get the nod over James Madison and be in. This is why I wish there would be 2 Group of 5 teams, but there can't be, unfortunately. But, man, North Texas most likely would be in if they won. So, North Texas right now is the highest Group of 5 ranked team, or highest ranked Group of 5 team in college football in my eyes in Frenzy rankings there. So, number 18 is Miami. They're still in the thick of things. I just have them at my 18 right now. I think if they win out, they could most likely get into the playoff. We'll see. If they go to the ACC championship, at least they can be in. We'll see, but they just got to keep winning. They got to get to the ACC championship for sure. Number 17 is Michigan. Michigan is 17. Keep an eye on Michigan. If they continue to win out, and if they do win out, they may not make it to the Big Ten championship, but they have the best win, I would believe. Excuse me. Well, if they win, actually, if you think about it, if they win against Ohio State, they would be in the Big Ten championship, wouldn't they? I didn't think about that. That could put Ohio State out. Because if they beat Ohio State, right, the only Big Ten loss Michigan has against USC, and they lost to OU, so they're a two-loss team. If they win out, they could jump Ohio State into the Big Ten championship and play Indiana. Shocker. Big shocker. So Michigan is a team to keep an eye on. Number 17 is Michigan. If they win out, they could be in the Big Ten championship, and they could be in. So we'll see what happens. Virginia is 16. Virginia is 16. Two-loss team. They had a bounce-back win over Duke. Good win there. They look like they are going to be the second team in against Georgia Tech in the ACC championship if they win out. We're going to see what happens there. They could slip right back into the playoff conversation if they win the ACC title game. Number 16 is Virginia. Number 15 is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a two-loss team. And if they win out, they most likely could be in as well. So we will see what happens there if they win out. Number 15 is Vanderbilt. Keep an eye on the doors for sure. This weekend and the next weekend. Keep an eye out on the doors. Georgia Tech is 14. If Georgia Tech beats Pitt and beats Georgia after, honestly, if they can lose to Georgia and still be in if they win the ACC championship. But they got to beat Pitt. So it's going to be a very interesting game on Saturday with Pitt. So they got to beat Pitt on Saturday. I'm putting them at 14 because they had a bounce-back win over Boston College. They played them close. It was kind of iffy. But I have them at 14. I think right now, I don't know if I can move them right now because I think Georgia Tech is a good team, but I love Georgia Tech, and I'm so high on Georgia Tech. I just don't think they can win right now against these two teams ahead of them. Number 13 is USC. Number 12 is Utah. USC's 13. They got a huge showdown against Oregon on Saturday. We'll see what happens there. They most likely can sneak into the college football playoff. Here's the deal with Utah, though. With Utah, they're number 12. I value Utah, man. I think they're a really good team. I think if BYU loses or if Texas Tech slips up, Utah's going to jump right back in. And I really believe that. So we're going to see what happens. I think if BYU slips up twice, which is going to be kind of tricky, if BYU slips up twice, or if Texas Tech slips up twice, then Utah's going to slip back into it. There's 2 weeks left. We'll see what happens. Crazy things have happened, so we'll see what happens. But Utah is 12. I value them a lot. Number 11 is Alabama. Huge loss after Oklahoma. Huge loss. It's a huge drop, I know. Bama's still in it. I just think that they are in the bracket right now for me. I just think that they have to win out, and they have to probably go to Atlanta to be in. It's do or die for them. Do or die for Alabama. Number 10 is Oklahoma. Oklahoma jumps Alabama, obviously, because they won. They are in if they keep winning. If they just win out, they are in. Number 10 is Oklahoma. Number 9 is Notre Dame. They played really good Saturday against Pitt. I had to put them at number 9 because I think they are rocking and rolling right now. Number 8 is BYU after a bounce-back win against TCU. Very good from Bear Bachmeier and the Cougars. They lit it up on Saturday night in Utah. So BYU's number 8. I think that's a good spot for them after a bounce-back win against TCU. Number 7 is Oregon. Oregon is number 7. Huge win against Minnesota this past Friday night. Let's see what happens against USC this Saturday night or this Saturday afternoon. I think that Oregon at number 7 is a good spot for them. For me, in the Frenzy rankings, number 6 is Ole Miss. A lot of people are going to say they were at number 5. They were still at number 6 regardless. Why'd you have Why'd you have this team I'm going to mention next jump them? I just think the other team's playing a little bit better right now. I think Ole Miss is playing good, but they didn't play up to their potential Saturday against Florida. Number 5 is Texas Tech. Texas Tech's playing better football, in my opinion. I think they're number 5 in the country right now. Number 5 is Texas Tech. Number 6 is Ole Miss. Number 4 is Georgia. Georgia's number 4. Dominant performance. They look physical. They look tough. Like I said, I can match them up with anybody in the country right now. Number 3 is Texas A&M, a remarkable comeback of the ages against South Carolina. And it showed me a lot about Texas Tech, that this team is resilient, and this is a different Texas Tech team, because I'm used to seeing them a little bit, like, collapse a little bit. I'm used to seeing that. However, that's not the case this time, this go-around. They ended up coming back and finding a way to win. Something different about this Aggie team, man. Number 3 is Texas A&M. They dropped one spot because of the first half. The first half wasn't the best from Texas A&M, so I had to drop them a little bit. Indiana is number 2, and Ohio State is number 1. Indiana played good against Wisconsin. Ohio State played good against UCLA. Both are 2-1 respectively. Indiana number 2, Ohio State number 1. No moves there. I just think those are the best teams right now, and the top 4 best teams right now, bye week-wise at least, for the playoff right now. That is the Frenzy playoff rankings for week 13. Let me guys know what you think in the comments below. Share your information. Share what you got. Like, if you will have any comments on the rankings, share what you have. So I would love for you to comment on the rankings and see if you have anything that's different and disagree with my rankings as well. That was the Week 13 Frenzy playoff rankings. That was a loaded Pigskin Frenzy on Tuesday. We will post those rankings on X and Instagram today. Follow at pigskin_frenzy, and we are out of time. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram is at pigskin_frenzy. The website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com for all things Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, big thank you for tuning in each and every week. 6,000 listeners, about to be at 6,100 listeners. We could not do this show without our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We give Jesus all the glory. We give him all the praise for delivering us into college football media and blessing us with Pigskin Frenzy. Without him, we would not be doing this, and we give him all the praise and thanks. Guys, if you want to come to know him, at Pigskin_frenzy on both Instagram and X, contact me there. And the website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. It's the best decision you can ever make in your life. I glorify him and praise him across all platforms, shows, and networks. Guys, loaded show. Thank you for tuning in. And not only that, man, we have a loaded show on Thursday. Week 13, preview and predictions on Thursday with Cole Thompson, the Bear, our good friend of the show. He comes back on the show from SEC Unfiltered. He joins the show to give us his Week 13 ranking reactions, his Week 13 upset alerts, and we're going to preview and predict the top matchups for Week 13 for Pigskin Frenzy. USC at Oregon, Pitt at Georgia Tech, BYU at Cincinnati, and Missouri at Oklahoma. Those are the Week 13 Pigskin Frenzy games. You're not going to want to miss it on Thursday. Loaded show on there with Cole Thompson from SEC Unfiltered. And until Thursday, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you then. For everybody out there, please and always, we're praying for you all. Stay the course.